the race that Eric Amorello spun. What's his name coming down the backstretch and put that voiceover of that wreck. It would sound the same.
Yeah, it's like when the 23 comes down to Ray. Ray tags the 42. The 42 tags the 3, and the 3 brazes the 17, but then the 17 just hooks a hard right.
All right. Do we have everybody? There's a lot. I like that. Steve, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you get my script?
Yep, I got it.
Okay, cool. So here's how it works. So I'm gonna do an intro, everybody, and then you and I will go into Q&A, which is on the first page and a half or so. And I'll go through those questions for like 10 minutes or so, and then we'll jump into the eNASCAR stuff, and you and I will kind of tag team that probably. And then at that point, you can either stay or go. But if you want to stay, the idea is just jump into conversation when you can, you know.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, very good. And if we have everybody, we might as well start. David, do you want to do a backup record?
David, are you there?
Wasn't he putting something on the grill?
Okay.
Either that or code yellow for him.
Nah, his burgers are probably burning.
Yeah, starting. Sorry, I was installing this new boom stand that actually holds the mic properly. How does this sound?
Okay.
Is it clear? You know, like less noise?
Got
Yeah.
a little bit of like white noise happening with it.
Why do you have to bring color into it?
User in your channel started recording.
Sorry, some non-denominational noise happening there.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters: Adam,
Hey.
Chris Scales,
Sup?
David Hall,
It's crowded.
Gregory Hectus,
I made it.
Nick Williams,
Hey, everybody.
Tony Groves,
Evening, gentlemen.
Will Gibson,
Hey, what's up, everybody?
and special guest Steve Sheehan.
Glad to be here, guys.
Hey, welcome. Boy, we got a full house tonight. Thanks for everybody for coming. Let's get to meet Steve Sheehan first. Thanks for coming in, Steve. We like to ask a bunch of questions of people to get to know you a little bit. Let's talk about, when did you first hear the word iRacing, and then what did you do about it?
I first heard about iRacing when I've been sim racing for a long time, since I was a little kid. So I heard about iRacing when I was still racing in the Papyrus sim prior to it. So we heard it was being produced by the same team, and I was one of the very initial group that were invited to beta test for them.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're one of the day one kind of guys that was there at the beginning, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, good. Now, you've been had quite a career up and down through iRacing over 10 years. Looking at your stat page, your iRating craft like really high, and then it kind of dwindles down, and then it looks like there's a period of inactivity, and then boom, your iRating jumps up to where you're at right now, going into the 2020 season. So tell us a little bit about that journey, and what have you been doing those 10 years?
Well, the graph is spot on. I started, fresh, one of the first groups, and was really dedicated. Had a lot of time. Got to the top oval series in the sim at the time, which was the Drivers' World Championship. And then I started getting busy, and I was unable to put the same amount of time into it. and the I rating shows that as the graph goes down. And then finally, I relocated. I moved from New York to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then I lost what little time I had, and that's the inactivity for a few years. This past couple years, I started getting too much of an itch to be away, and threw some money back at this hobby, and wanted to see if I could get back to close to a level that I was, and that explains the rating going back up, right?
Yeah, and with a overall winning percentage across those 10 years, 31%. That's a really big number. We have a lot of people that come on, and that is a good number. So congratulations on that. So obviously you're in and I'm going to go ahead and say it now, the Coke series, and we're going to talk about Coca-Cola being the new sponsor of the series that you're running. The eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, I believe, is the name of it. You'll be in there, obviously, and this is the reiteration of the series that you just talked about from 10 years ago. What is it like to be back? First, tell us about that, and then what other series are you running, or are you just focused on that?
It feels awesome to be back. It's just such an accomplishment in itself, just to be able to get my feet wet again and be as competitive as I am. All these guys that are in it now, at the level of talent and dedication it takes it mirrors what it was back then. The sim is a little different. The way it drives is a little different, but it's just as competitive. So it feels really, really good to be back at that level. I see some faces I remember, some nostalgia going on. So some guys are getting back into it this season along with me, that I do have history with and I remember, and some guys I'll be racing for the first time this season. Luckily, we were all able to meet each other a couple weeks ago, because iRacing was able to bring us all together and meet face to face, which is an awesome opportunity, especially for the younger guys. And I'm really looking forward to probably winning some races, I would hope.
Absolutely. You were looking pretty good in the Clash. We'll talk about that later. Let's talk about your hardware setup. What are you racing with for wheel, pedals, your monitor or VR, that kind of thing, and then third-party software?
Wheel and pedals, I'm using Fanatec, CSL Elite wheel. I think it's an 11-inch wheel, and the Club Sport pedals, V3 or V2, one of those. And nothing crazy with those. I don't run too much force feedback. And the monitors, I actually, between computer and monitors, I'm a big NVIDIA guy. So monitors are Asus, all Rogue Strix stuff. I'm just big on NVIDIA. I love all their products. So it's pretty much all that stuff. And a big part of me coming back, I wanted to make sure that I invested and I really enjoyed my time. I didn't want to cut any quarters. I didn't want to struggle with computer issues or overheating. So I kind of went all out and kind of ignored my bank statements for a little while as I bought some stuff and put these computers together that I use. And it's a good time. I enjoy it.
All right, very good. What did you start out with 10 years ago for hardware?
10 years ago, I started off with, it was probably about the same size monitor, and it was probably still, it was probably not as good as the monitors now, but not much has changed. The main difference was the wheel and pedals that I was using then was a Thomas Super Wheel, which is TSW, and for anyone that's been in the NASCAR side of sim racing, Papyrus Sims, especially in the States, they know what TSW is. It's basically a household name to anyone that's been in it for a while. So I used that for as long as I could. And then I kind of hopped on the bandwagon of Fanatec, and I've been using that since. But I might be getting my hands on another TSW and give that a go again here soon.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about the team set up. But first of all, Kyle Larson Esports, I believe, is what he calls it, which is a brand new team to the Coke Series. Who is your contact over there? Have you talked to Kyle yet, or how's that gone?
We've been, obviously, everybody knows Kyle's an absolute wheelman. You pretty much have to try to find him in between races that he's doing or, winning and stuff like that. So there's a couple contacts over there that we're all in good communication with between myself, my teammate Bob, who also signed, old friend. I've known Bob for over 15 years. And communication is great. We're getting our cars, the paints are getting done, and it's really cool to be a part of a new team and have Kyle come in. He's a sim racer himself. He has a sim rig, the whole nine. So when he does have time, he's probably racing on the internet too. So it's cool to be representing him.
Yeah, absolutely, and he knows what's up too. One of his famous quotes that I always bring up is he says, "Sim racing is more competitive than real NASCAR," and it is, and he knows it. But tell us about Bob Bryant. We've had him on the show recently as well, and he is a veteran as well from a long time ago. When the announcement came out, and I'm trying to pick my favorites as a fan. I love Kyle Larson, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm an old guy. Here's a couple old guy veterans that are going to be paired up. How does that matchup work with you and Bob?
Well, Bob and I go way, way back. The cool story about Bob and I is probably one of the first broadcasted sim races ever. It wasn't any video. It was just a radio broadcast. I was about 12. I'm 34 now. I was about 12 or 13 years old then. And so was Bob. And Bob was actually one of the announcers. So that's just how far we go back. So we've been in this for a long time. And our outlook and our passion and what we see from sim racing and our experiences, it all mirrors each other. And we very much have the same outlook on a lot of different things and the same opinion, and we also have the same goals, and we know each of us both want to win. We're here back and doing something we love after both of us took a long break, and it's gonna be really fun being able to race with him as a teammate. But we'll always be competitors first, just like anybody else. So it'll be fun racing against them again.
Okay, great. Let's hear about the team behind the scenes, the one helping you put the setup to get underneath the car. Who are you working with there? Who's behind the wrenches? And how is that working for coming up for the next race?
Well, the team behind the scenes, it really consists of it just like anybody that's been in sim racing or any online gaming community knows there's usually little groups that hang out for a long time to befriend each other. So there's a core group of us that have been around for a long time, all hanging out, playing different games. The ones that work on setups for iRacing and our racing, it's myself, Bob, John Gorlinski, and Jeremy Allen. We work together on our way through Road to Pro, through Pro, and we all four of us got into where we are now, and we're pretty proud of that, and we're looking to be just as competitive going forward. So there's a big group of guys on Drill Owl. They're just like anywhere else, they're all probably hanging out on Drill Owl TeamSpeak right now, and they'll always be rooting for each other, and it's really fun to just be able to have a core group of us back in the series. It's fun.
Well, I figured you guys were going to be recruited by the established teams, but it sounds like you're just going in on your own. How does that feel? I mean, going in against all those teams that have been there so long, and they have the big ranks of people behind them, churning out sets and stuff.
Well, and Bob and I both, with how everything is going and how everything is evolving in sim racing, you're going to have new teams come in. You're going to have there's varying levels of knowledge of sim racing. Some teams are coming in. They really don't have too much knowledge of a lot of the community part in sim racing. They have knowledge of what they see on reports and the internet and the business side. You know, iRacing, what they see at what they read on the website, but a lot of them don't really know the history and know a lot to it. So there's going to be varying levels of knowledge, and a lot of times this year, some of these guys are might have to teach their team a little bit, especially the new ones that are in, which is awesome. It's good to have them coming in and wanting to be involved. I think it's good for everybody all around. So it feels good to have one of the new teams pick Bob and I both up. I think it's going to pay dividends for them, just having two guys that are, quote unquote veterans compared to some of the guys that have only been here a few years. Bob and I have seen ups and downs in sim racing and how it's evolved, and Bob and I have experience seeing how the way we act and the way you handle yourself in sim racing is no different than real racing. If you go out there and you're a tool, you're going to be known that way, and it's going to affect your experience. And Bob and I know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, I'm excited for you guys and the Kyle Larson Esports entries. I think you guys have a good shot. You're really hot coming off the Pro Series. All of you guys. I mean, John Gorlinski too, and he just won the Clash, obviously. Excuse me, he didn't win the Clash, but he's been running real well, and then Bob's running well as well, the last part of the Pro Series. So I think you guys are kind of set up well going into this Coke 2020 season. Let's jump into the NASCAR eNASCAR news of the week. But first, Steve, tell us, if people want to follow you on your racing through this season, are you on Twitch doing a channel, or are you on Twitter, that kind of thing?
Yep, you can find me at Twitter at Steve Sheehan 0, the number 0. And on Twitch, I do also stream at, it's just Steve Sheehan. And usually if you start typing Steve Sheehan, you'll see a cartoon with yellow sunglasses come up, and that's my channel.
Okay, very good. So let's go through the week of eNASCAR, because there was a lot going on as we get into the race that's coming up here shortly. So in chronological order, we first got Matt Weaver put out an article about eNASCAR. Now, Matt Weaver is a NASCAR writer, and he posted on athlonsports.com a bunch of information, and he talked about, first, the Heat Pro League was averaging 50 to 70,000 views per stream, which I thought was a pretty high number. I had no idea it was that high. He also talked about the sanctioning body enjoying a partnership with iRacing since 2009, and that partnership has reached a crescendo in October when they aired on NBC the flag coverage of that $100,000 championship from Homestead. Steve Myers recalls conversations with the late Bill France Jr. over the vision of a future in which digital racers would someday compete on the internet for authentic NASCAR championship. The quote is this: "I think people forget that NASCAR started its esport vision 10 years ago with iRacing," Myers says. "They were groundbreaking in recognizing what this could be, that you could put anyone behind the wheel of a stock car. Every other sport has an E-League, but they can't put you in the batter's box of an MLB stadium or have you catch a pass on an NFL field. NASCAR saw from day one a way to connect fans to their actual product." So I thought that was interesting, that I had no idea that Bill France Jr. was had anything to, or he had any knowledge of e-racing. The article goes on to say Dale Jr. Has been highly influential in adding legitimacy to esports and e-racing as a concept over the past 2 decades. It also talks about William Byron and his path. And let's see what else it says here. But anyway, a very good article by Matt Weaver that got a lot of NASCAR fans to read it. It really gives us some great exposure. So thank you to Matt. All right, let's keep going. Bobby Zielinski, he posted up, he got his third place trophy for the last season of 2019. It's not a bad looking trophy, but it just happens to be the last peak eNASCAR trophy. So now that peak is done.
It's good to see. I wonder what they'll come up with this year, but that's a nice trophy, even though it's not for a major win.
Coke bottle, maybe?
Isn't like the Coke 600 trophy like a monster? Maybe they do something like that.
That's for Dover. That gives the monster.
Oh, yeah. All right, next up was Jim Beaver Esports shows off their Fords for Michael G. and who is that, Eric Smith? I can't tell by the tweet handle. Let's see here. It is, I don't know. Who's the driver for Beaver Sports? I can't remember. But anyway, they got a little video there that shows off the paint jobs.
It's a nice, quick video to show their cars.
Eric Smith, that is the correct name. Okay, I was just kind of hesitant
Yeah,
there.
it's Eric Smith, yeah.
And Michael Garigula, I'm still trying to get his name quite right, but they got sponsors, Polaris Razor, Vision Wheel, and nice paint jobs. They do have offsetting colors, black and orange on each one, and they kind of offset each other. So that is cool.
I like the background beat that they did for that song. It was a pretty good video.
And then Denny Hamlin, he tweeted out, fresh team, fresh paint for Casey Kerwin and Keegan Leahy. Boy, I love the Air Jordan car, the light, the kind of bright blue with maybe a carbon fiber look, and he's got the Michael Jordan logo across the side right behind the number. I mean, it looks sharp.
You know what
Those
it
are
actually
sharp
is?
looking cars on track
It's
too.
the texture of a basketball.
Yep, they look good on track.
The that Jordan car, that brand in general, just seeing that on the side of a car is a good recognition right there.
And then Keegan's got a red with that same dark pattern that looks like a basketball, but it says Direct Force Pro as a sponsor.
Now, is that the VRS wheel? I believe they branded it as a Direct Force Pro. So is this like just a VRS sponsorship with their actual hardware versus their software?
I don't know. Good point. Good question. But the little logo thing right before it looks like an A and an F. AccuForce?
I think it's
don't
an
know.
AccuForce program.
Well, that's Sim Commander. I think because Keegan Leahy is one of the coaches for VRS.
Right. He wouldn't
And he
be
was-
trying to sell AccuForce.
He's the odd man out between Ray and Zielinski, who went with the VRS team. So I'm thinking that is a DF there. It is kind of hard the way it tapers down.
Could be.
But I'm thinking that's going to be the logo and the branding for the VRS wheel. Just kind of my thoughts on that.
You're
They
probably
also
right.
got their own little swag here too. They got their personalized shirts for the Denny Hamlin brand.
Oh, yeah. And then Michael Jordan on the other corner.
And they have their numbers on the shirt.
The Direct Force Pro is more or less the innards of what's inside the wheels with forces. It basically controls how the forces work and how they're cooled, everything that goes inside. It's basically like a motherboard for a computer.
All right, cool. The next announcement was finally, less than 7 days before the beginning race, we get a sponsor announcement for the eNASCAR iRacing World Championship, and it's Coca-Cola. And it started with NASCAR tweeting out that Coca-Cola is the entitlement sponsor for the NASCAR iRacing Series with a prize pool of $300,000 and live telecast on NBCSN. So what do you guys think? I mean, big news, great sponsor. I mean, I can't think of a better company that is this more, it couldn't be more perfect.
I agree. Couldn't be more perfect, even though I'm a little biased about it.
Yeah, since you work for Coke, right?
Stare out the mirror every day and see it in the back.
Might be a reason I didn't get a pay raise this winter.
Yeah, but maybe you can get some comp tickets.
Yeah, maybe.
Now remember, Coke is a title sponsor of NASCAR too. Remember, they're splitting it amongst like 4 or 5 companies. And so it sounds like they were able to just tag this on and spend a little bit more and get this series. So I think it's great.
It's always been weird how Coke, Coke has a lot of money in their branding, and they've been like secondary sponsors and in the background a lot. I mean, they do all the NASCAR, the drivers, and they sponsor it that way, but it's the first time that they've actually taken the reins and put their name out there for events. I know they did the Coke, they have the one race that was sponsored by Coke, but it's interesting to see a full series or multiple series now being sponsored by it.
You guys know we talk in chat, and I've said it was going to be Coke Energy was who I was kind of thinking it was going to be for, I'd say a little over a month or so now, and I'm just surprised they branded it with full Coca-Cola and not the Coke Energy. I think that shows just how much they value this, because I think if they branded an energy drink with a gaming thing, it just looks like they're selling energy drink to gamers. But this is actually full-on Coca-Cola, not Coke Energy. It's not, I would say, a fad or anything. This is the full company. I think that just shows the value of what iRacing and eNASCAR bring to their name brand, to actually have Coca-Cola there and not Coke Energy.
And potential longevity too, because it is a multi-year deal, it said.
And when we come out with new products, you don't know if that product's going to take off and stick around. So it's pretty smart of them to go with the main product that we have is regular Coke.
I have a question. Steve, are you still here?
Oh yeah.
Did you guys know about this ahead of time? Like, was there rumblings with this, or did you guys all get surprised by the announcement as well?
We didn't know any specifics. We didn't know. We knew it was going to be a new title sponsor. The funny part was when we all got flown and met in Charlotte. Like everybody met each other. We met iRacing. We were reminded there's going to be a new title sponsor. So naturally, all of us, we started looking around because we wanted to see any hints that we could. So, we may have gotten some hints, but nothing was ever told. So we were waiting for the news just like anybody.
Yeah, I think Ray Alfalo actually posted a picture of him holding a Coke that was taken while he was in Charlotte. But he finally posted that up. But anyway, yeah, that is great. And now 100,000 of that 300,000 is for the winner. So the winner gets $100K, guys. You can make a living on this now if you're the winner.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Someone's gonna walk away with, a great earnings for, that's for it could be over a couple years earnings, but for one season.
Yeah, and Dale Jr. Quickly piped in. Awesome to see such incredible support for iRacing in its top oval series. Huge for all involved. Peak Auto is a great partner for the series for years. A new chapter begins.
I'm glad he's supporting it, though, because he's usually a Pepsi guy, if you know his sponsors.
Well, he's a Mountain Dew brand. He's not totally Pepsi. He's the Mountain Dew section of it.
Yeah, at least he's nice enough to say something about it. And he was one of the first ones who piped in on Twitter when NASCAR made the announcement. iRacing did put out an article as well. Justin Melillo, who's been on the show recently, he did remind us that the series runs normally on Tuesdays, but the final 6 races, those dates are actually Thursday, and that's the ones that are going to be televised Steve, tell us about the idea of running on NBC. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I don't think anyone is going to feel any more nervous or anything like that, so that won't affect anything. But it's going to be awesome. It's going to be kind of a weird part of scheduling, of course, but that's all just broadcasting stuff, obviously. And I think the exposure is going to be amazing. It's the route it's the train that sim racing is on right now, and this kind of exposure that iRacing and NASCAR and people like sponsors like Coke, and broadcast companies, what they're doing is pretty amazing. So it's going to be cool racing on NBC. It's not going to be anything different for most of us that have been doing it for a while, though, honestly.
Okay, and the schedule, Justin Malillo also posted that up, but it goes from 18 to 20 races. No real surprises as I look at it. It does kind of follow the regular NASCAR schedule. The last 4 playoff races: Charlotte, Roval, Kansas, Texas, and then Phoenix. And that's November 1st for the season finale.
It's interesting to see them obviously increasing it, and then obviously broadcasting. Do you think we get to the point where they actually go to a full schedule, like a full amount of races, and do it week by week following the actual series someday?
I don't know, because the way they've got it right now, they're able to alternate with the Road to Pro.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe do they really need? They can still do the Road to Pro on a different night. Like, I'm saying, like, down the road, do you think it gets more competitive? I know with only 18 to 20 races, they at least hit every track once, so they don't have, they're not duplicating a lot. But it's just, it seems like the more they increase, the more the sponsorship maybe get there.
Yeah, that's
the
it.
more that they might do it, right?
Yeah, it's all about money, because Coke's here now. They want return on investment. The other sponsors who are sponsoring these cars, they want a return on investment. They're going to want more broadcast, and that's what's going to drive it. Is if there's enough sponsorship, NBC will want to broadcast the entire season, and then they'll push for it, and that's where it really comes from.
I don't think that will force them to have to go to every week, though. I mean, right now the real NASCAR series they're actually contracting a little and cutting a weekend out. They run a lot longer than those guys do. I think that they'll be happy with the way they've got it. They may go for more broadcasts, but I don't think it's necessary to add more races, especially considering you don't have to worry about keeping a track viable. You don't have to go to a track twice to make it profitable.
Well,
like you do in the real world.
The NASCAR schedule in 2022 is rumored to be cut or be over at the beginning of football season. And if that's true, that's going to be very condensed, and then maybe it's a whole different story.
I think they shouldn't saturate the market. I think right now a race every 2 weeks is a good sweet spot. If it was on every week, it wouldn't really be as special anymore, I think, for a lot of people. I think it's like, well, if I miss this week, I'll just catch next week's race. I'm think the schedule's perfect as is. They do have the Road to Pro series running on those alternate weeks. I think with Podium broadcasting those this year, I think for the hardcore sim racers who want to watch a broadcasted race every night, they'll have their fill there. And I think there'll be just as much drama at that level as well, if not even more. So I think it's at a sweet spot. I would fear if they put too many more races, it would just get to the point where it's not as special anymore. It's just another weekly event.
And even though some of the prize money may make this a job that pays the bills for some of these guys are still working jobs.
Oh, yeah. Now, Chris Overland, he actually started practicing. He put up a video talking about getting ready for the Daytona race, but he had to take a good swig of his Coke at the end of the video. He didn't quite get the label pointed to the camera quite right there, Steve. Have you guys been practicing doing your Coke swigs?
No, I haven't. I've been getting my practice, making sure I buy it So that's going to be that's for some of us, that's just going to be, realistically, I just need to make sure I buy it now with, a camera in our face literally while we're racing all the time. I can't just take a drink of anything. I need to actually make
Don't
sure
have a Pepsi.
I need to make sure
It's water or
You can't have
Coke.
your
That's
you
all
can't
you
have
get.
your scotch there, huh?
Well,
Better
I
be
mean,
Dasani water.
even the exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Even the bottled water. I mean, before I still have like two things. I'm one of those guys that buys a huge thing of bottled water in bulk. I had to rip all the labels off my 30 bottles of water downstairs just so I don't make the mistake of drinking the wrong thing on my stream now.
Just got to get a Coke branded water bottle. You'll be all right.
The other thing is Coke wasn't the only thing he was advertising in this video. He's got enough labels on him for all the things for the Wood Brothers there.
Let's talk about the cameras since you brought it up. Now, Mike Conti did put on Twitter that the series has actually supplied webcams to the drivers. Tell us a little bit about that, Steve. And obviously, you're being careful with labels.
Yeah, of course. It's all part of the exposure, and iRacing, everyone involved just wants to make sure this is a simulation. We want to put out a professional looking product, and I think it's a smart move for them to send cameras out. And when we're doing these streams of these races, whether it's nationally broadcasted on TV or a YouTube or Twitch or whatever the platform, to be able to show off the level of interaction, the level of what we can do with technology, to have a camera watching us just wheel the car while you're watching the broadcast is gonna do wonders for anybody, especially if they come straight from a NASCAR thing and it's the first sim race they've ever seen. They're gonna look at that and be like, wow, this is high tech. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think at Homestead they realized we definitely need cameras at the end when Zach was so emotional after he won, and it really puts a human touch to it, and I'm really glad that they did that. Let's kind of shift gears to Coke again. Steve Myers, a long time ago on Twitter, well, not a long time ago, October 21st, he said, if Coke comes on board to sponsor our NASCAR series, I will have the guys pull it out of the vault and spruce it up. And he was referring to the fictional Coca-Cola Speedway, a 3-mile, 36-degree banked fictional racetrack that they
Super
run.
Speedway.
That they run opposite of normal, counterclockwise. And do you guys remember this from the day? Yeah, the other. Okay, sorry. I remember racing this a long time ago.
I think it's unrestricted too, so you're going like 230, 240. Easy.
I bet you they restrict it, but it would be a good track to run. Like it's an awesome track.
Might
Be the
good for the old COT car.
It'll be the all-star race this year.
So check the link. There's a video I found of it. And look at how wide the banking is and how steep it is. It's going to be a blast. Unbelievable. But yeah, and so anyway, Steve Myers this week, he posted up a photo of his computer monitor where he actually has a rendering of it in iRacing that they're working on. So we're going to get a new track.
That's because that's the first fictional track too.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is this the first fictional track, and is everyone okay with that? I think I am.
I would say so, because it kind of goes back to their history. It's although it is a fictional track, it's something that goes all the way back to NR 2003. So I think it's kind of a neat nod to where they came from to where they are today.
I don't think they have to go out and scan it at least.
Yeah, I was gonna say it makes laser scanning a lot easier for them.
Might
Do
take
they
a
have to
lot.
scan the monitor?
And it's not like it's going to wind up in an official series or anything.
Carb
so
Cup.
If you don't want to run it, you don't need to worry about it.
Carb Cup would be perfect for this. Put it in regular
Wonder if it'll be a
rotation.
free track too.
I can almost promise that it's going to be brought advertised enough to where it's going to be implemented in some kind of fun series of some sort.
I say,
I mean,
Do you
it's
think it would be
Coca-Cola.
named a Coca-Cola, like a series like under Coca-Cola's name?
That'd be kind of cool, but I don't know.
I'd replace put it on Carb Cup and replace Monza.
All right, let's get into the Clash, which was kind of a practice race before the big race. It was postponed when they first tried it due to software issues, according to Kevin Bobbitt in the forums. And then they did run it yesterday. Boy, when I jumped in the stream, Steve, I think with about lap 18 or so, you were right there. You were in the top 3, I think, in a huge pack of 3 wide, probably 8 or 9 deep. Tell us about the racing last night. You guys stayed green right up until the end.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, in our kind of exhibition that we ran the night before, it was I was able to kind of employ 2 different strategies. The race before, I kind of hung out in the back, and I went right about halfway, and sure enough, there was a wreck right as I started going, so I was collected in the wreck in the first one. And then last night, I kind of tried something else. I laid a qualifying lap down. I started second or so, and I ran up front for the first 10 laps or so, and I was in the mix and just got a feel for the car up front. I wanted to monitor how the tape affected, if it would heat up more, stuff like that. So it was good. It ran well. For 49 laps, we were pretty much 3 wide, and green flag pit stops for everybody, and we all obviously like you guys saw, it turned out to be a pretty interesting finish.
Yeah, Malik Ray was at the front, and he got shuffled as everyone started pushing. I mean, it was like the white flag came out, everyone lost their minds. Everyone was just pushing everybody, even if you were 3rd or 4th or 5th in line, everybody's pushing. It was just crazy. And so Malik just kind of got shuffled off to the right against the wall. He just barely got it, and then he got into the guy next to him, and then that guy got into the middle lane, and boom, it was on. And John Gorlinski, he hit the wall twice hard as he was trying to get through there, but he was the only one that was able to kind of keep it rolling there and made it to the line while the field laid in a pile of rubble back in turn 4. Chandler got second, Zielinski third.
I wonder, right when I'm watching that, all I picture is the interview with Tony Stewart when he said that they didn't wreck enough cars the one year, so they got to go back out on the track and wreck some more. That's all I pictured after seeing that. That was like every car.
Yeah, it was quite a wreck that happened, and you kind of knew it was coming when they started pushing. But John put up his onboard, and it was pretty interesting. But Logan Clampett, he also did a pretty cool onboard, guys, where he kind of mixed it with an old old stock car race with Tom Cruise, saying, keep in the gas, you can make it through the smoke, or whatever he says.
Days of Thunder.
Right. But, yeah, he pulled one of those moves. What did you see from your seat there, Steve?
Well, I posted my view off my stream on my Twitter too, and going through turn 2 after we took the white flag, going through 1 and 2, I didn't realize it at the time because I was, in the moment. Gorlinski was the one pushing me. He was the one right behind me, and I said on my stream, I said out loud, I'm going to back off. I have a feeling something's going to happen. So I left that extra 1 or 2 car lengths between the car in front of me and myself because I was already on the inside. So if I saw something break out and I saw daylight, I was pretty much just going to crank it left through the grass and try to miss everything. So when that all started, I think Gorlinski and I both saw the same hole and we shot the same gap. And there was another car going through the hole that we did. There was another car in between us. So it was Gorlinski, another car, and then myself. We all got through that hole, but I was all the way to the right. out of the 3 cars that were all together, and I got shot towards the wall, and Gorlinski was able to keep going straight. So we both had the same idea, but I was donating fenders just like everybody else. So luckily, I just kind of got going faster than anybody else, and I think I finished 6th or so. But it's to be expected. That was a really awesome race. The way it all played out, the pack pretty much formed back, and I mean, if there was gonna be a big wreck, that's when you want it to happen, right? The very, very last lap, all the racing's out of the way. Because if it would have happened at halfway, kind of, you guys see it in real life too. Big wreck happens at halfway. You kind of want to tune out, right?
Yeah, and we got to see for the first time the new graphics package for this year that iRacing is going to use with you guys. And it is bomb. I mean, I love the side scoring along the left side. You can see the top 16 easily and see where people are running. The cameras, of course, on the drivers' faces was great, especially for the interviews post-race. There were issues with connection, lots of lag. At first, for me, it was just kind of choppy audio. Like the picture was okay, but the audio was choppy. But then later, towards the end, it was like the entire thing would cut out for seconds at a time. Adam, I think you were having problems with it too.
Yeah, I was having some sound problems with it. I watched about half of it, and then I went to bed. I couldn't watch it anymore.
See, mine must have been weird. I was having issues with the video cutting out the whole race through the whole stream.
Yeah, and we weren't the only ones. If you looked in the chat, everybody was reporting the same thing. So they definitely have some issue there that they need to work on. I don't know what it is.
A big part of that is iRacing HQ, where they work out of, recently moved to a new location, and they're getting everything squared away, and they're putting so much more work, and they have a full-on production. I think one of the guys in iRacing HQ posted a picture of the office they're working out of with, I mean, there had to have been 15 screens. It looks like, a news station. It's just a full deal. So having all that, from being a streamer myself, it's hard enough to get it running smooth with one computer or 2 computers. So to have 10 different computers sending data in order to stream at a high quality, the tests like this, what we did last night and the night before, where we had to postpone it, it's necessary, because you don't want to go into the first broadcast to, say, national television to be that, so it was expected. It's going to look really, really good once they fine tune it. It's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah, and like I said, the graphics package is just bomb, and they got great animation. I mean, it really looks professional, like it should belong on television, and well done. So anyway, next up, earlier today, Novak, our champion, he did post up his new paint job, Sudaco Fuel, and it's kind of an old school look to it. I love it. It's kind of a blue with a bright yellow.
It's the old, who is it? Fuller. Who was the driver? His last name was Fuller back in the day.
Jeff Fuller?
Jeff Fuller, yeah. That's his old paint job. It reminds me of.
Yeah. So well done. He's got him a sponsor there. Let's keep moving. Adam, tell us about the Podium Daytona 500.
All right, so Thursday night, Justin Knobloch won the Xfinity race, and Brandon Holder finished second, and Robert by a bumper. Robert Barmwald finished fourth. Aaron Smith, the second, finished third, and Brent Keith finished fifth. Let's see here. Saturday, me and Bobby both got wrecked out in heat races. Both running the transfer spots. Unfortunate events. Bobby had nowhere to go, and then I got taken out by a guy just not paying attention. He later apologized. Dalton Mobley, he advanced to a last chance race, and he got in a racing incident and taken out. So, rough day for Tifosi. Nobody made the big event.
Yeah.
Saturday, the timed events Saturday were plagued by time problems, as they were set for 30 minutes instead of 30 laps. So it was causing some problems on restarts at the end of the race, and the race should have been over, and it would go green for about 200 yards, affecting the end of the finish.
Yeah, it was kind of an odd situation where in these races, which are the qualifying races to get into the big race Sunday, they had this running out of time. They didn't make them long enough. And so as they approached the end of the race, they weren't sure if it was going to be naturally run out of the normal amount of laps or is it going to be a timed race. And so when the checker did come out in one of the races, apparently race control told the drivers, keep going, go another lap. And then some of the drivers kept racing and they raced another lap and others didn't. And that obviously ruffled some feathers where some people made it in and some people didn't and that kind of thing. There were complaints about, we paid money to get into this race and we got swindled because nobody knows about the timed event and, all this stuff. So there was a little bit of drama. I think, yeah. It happens. Would have been better if they had not made these the time a situation had extended it. Yeah, it would have been better. But it's an honest mistake when you're trying to put these races together. They probably didn't think about it or something like that.
It's such a big event. It's hard to get every single little detail right. Something's got to be wrong at some point. I mean, even look at the broadcast last night. It had some glitching issues, and these guys they're putting on their own event, and it's a lot of logistics.
11 hours of racing Saturday, and multiple the broadcast was continuous too, with multiple teams of broadcasters switching in and out.
Well, and you got to realize these guys do have, this isn't their life too, right? This is a hobby. So this, they put a time limit on it so that they knew that, they were going to be, they were coming up so that they could fit everything in and they knew what they were going to be done by. If you just leave it out there, they could be done 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning if they weren't careful.
The mistake is telling the drivers to do something besides what iRacing official is saying. They just need to step back from that and don't do any adminning and just let iRacing do it. And that's the only way to make these leagues work.
And then Sunday, Daniel Eberhardt won the 500. Honorable mention was Daniel won $1,000 and a sim rig. And the honorable mention is Brent McCoy, former teammate, was the only non-pro in the top 10 for most of the race. He was second on the final restart, but the pros shuffled him out. Well done.
Snake bitten.
Well, Brent, yeah, I gotta, I don't really like the way he left this team, but I gotta, commend him as a driver for a long time during that race. He was the only guy with all the peak drivers in the top 10, and he doesn't have the iRating that they do, and so that does, honor. It does need an honorable mention, and to be there running second on the final restart of the race, really in position to win. Good job. I mean, and it was pretty obvious he was going to get shuffled. Those guys, those pros are used to working together. They were all doing the whole pushing thing where everybody's pushing each other, and whoever's in front usually gets shuffled. We kind of saw that last night with Malik Ray. It was the same thing that happened to Brent McCoy, actually, that happened to Malik Ray.
Yeah, if you're the new guy, you get the boot if you're the new guy.
Right.
Well, also the damage though that he had from his earlier incident didn't help because it made his car easier to hit. I ran into that when I was running that Talladega race. Depending on how the car in front of you was behaving, would affect whether or not it liked getting pushed or not. Because I was able to push one guy for 30 laps, and then it just looked like when the hit happened, it just looked like a push gone wrong, and it might have had something to do with the damage on the front actually slowing him down just a little.
All right, so congrats to Daniel Eberhardt. We actually reached out to him to get him on the show. We're having some scheduling, trying to figure out if we can get him on, but we're trying. So we'll get him on and ask him about it. Greg, what's next?
So Tyler Hudson decided to, I think it was just going on again about just letting everybody know in the NAS that the stop-and-go penalty will be after 14 incidents in the NAS season. So I guess there's going to be, you get one at 14 incidents, and then another stop and go at 22, and then there's a disqualification after 27 incidents. So we've got a little bit of an increase in incidents per race, but now you got, 14 is a pretty quick way to accumulate to get a first stop and go. He really liked how how it worked at the Daytona 24-hour event. So they're hoping to see how this goes with the NIS.
How's this going to work at Martinsville? Is my question.
Right. Everybody. I mean, that's 80% of the field probably will have 14 incidents by 3/4 mark of that race.
I think what it's going to do is you're going to have, someone like, I don't know if there's anybody here, but anyone that pays attention to not, getting involved in incidents or things like that might benefit from getting an extra 5 or 10 positions, in races like that. Like, it could really come down to it. Like a 14 incidents, that's nothing to get a drive-through. And if you're getting a drive-through if you get a drive-through at Daytona or Talladega, you're screwed. If you're out the draft, you're done.
It's definitely going to change the strategy at Martinsville for sure.
I just wonder, it's probably going to be rough at the start, but I'm sure once we get midway through the season, everybody's going to know and drive accordingly. I know the safety rating on the roadside seems to be more after people cut in the course than it is incidents as far as on-track bumping and wrecking. We don't have off-course incidents the same way in Oval Series, so having this lower number, I think, should hopefully help people be more cognizant of what's going on around them and not wanting to get that drive-through or stop and go. I think the only thing about this is I think we're going to start seeing a lot of posts of 4X incidents where it's just part of the way the damage model is now because we don't get 2Xs anymore.
4X.
Yeah. So I think midway through the season, I'm sure we'll all start driving accordingly, and I think it'll be fine. But those incidents, hopefully, iRacing addresses, and we could go back to having 2X car contacts.